Fiji squad for the June-July tests, folks. That is the first squad of new coach Mick Byrne, who has been coaching the Fijian and Drua in Super Rugby the last few years. This is his first full national team squad. We'll go through it, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. He's got pretty big shoes to fill, Mick Byrne, and the steps of former coach Simon Rawalui, who led the Flying Fijian side to a pretty decent run at the Rugby World Cup. But yeah, he's going to have to do it without a couple of the big guns. There's no Levani Botia, and there's no Joshua Tuisova for Mick Byrne's first squad. Those guys, alongside Biana Habosi, have not made themselves available due to either personal reasons or injuries. But he has been able to call up a decent amount of guys based in Europe, plus more than kind of half the squad who are, pretty familiar faces from that Fijian and Drua side in Super Rugby. The forward pack, Ikanaveri, Matsavesi and Togitama, those are the three hookers. That's pretty steady as she goes. Ikanaveri has been absolutely playing the house down in Super Rugby. Loves a carry, loves to get a try from close range, and Matsavesi certainly pretty Mr. Reliable, still playing his rugby up in the Premiership. Props, you got Hetet, Tuni, and Dongier, plus Maui, Ravai, and Tangi. So 6 props. Tuni is the only uncapped guy. He has only played really limited game time for the Drua thus far. So at 23, certainly has a lot of development to come. Locks, Voasese, Rotosalia, Mayana, Vanua, and Nasilasila. You've got one uncapped guy there in Voasese, but he has been an absolute line-out man for the Fijian and Drua. So it'll be interesting to see. He's only 21 as well, whether he's able to kind of squeeze his way into the starting lineup. And then Mayana Vanua is the one guy kind of based abroad. The other 3 are all Drua men. And then Salawa, Tharikaivata, 2 uncapped guys in the back row, both playing their rugby for the Fijian and Drua. Salawa has certainly proved himself with that really high work rate. And then Yato is back in the side after missing out on the World Cup. Remember, he was one of the guys who was initially named, but then also kind of made himself unavailable. Taki Tangivalu, Mata, and Tuisui, the other guys. So it's a real mix in terms of the loosies, in terms of like the 3 Drua guys, or is it 2 Drua guys? It's got the Salawa and Tharikaivata, and then Tangi Tangivalu. Those are the guys in their 20s. And then the 3 kind of senior guys in Yato, Mata, and Tuisui, kind of all in their early 30s. So a good kind of balance, one would imagine. You'll certainly imagine the young guys will learn a bit more from the senior dudes. But there's no Botia, like I mentioned, which is a bit of a bigger mission. And then Darren Lange is also a bit of a surprising one, because he's been captaining the Fijian and Drua for much of his time with them, but not in the Flying Fijian squad. Also, Thirikita Veta seems to have fallen down the pecking order. I believe he had an injury a while back and hasn't kind of managed to force his way back into the kind of starting second row of the Drua. Misses out on international selection here. Kurivoli, Lomani, and Matawalu, that's pretty steady as she goes in terms of the number 9s. No real surprises there. And the 10s, both Drua guys, same with the 3 9s, so all pretty familiar guys. There should be pretty good chemistry between them. Caleb Muntz is kind of the incumbent at international level. Remember, with Titi Tela having retired prior to the World Cup, got himself injured, but was in cracking form. But then Armstrong Ravula has been playing some really good rugby for the Drua, has started pretty much their entire Super Rugby season. At 10, finished with over 100 points in Super Rugby, one of the top point scorers, so ran the show really well for a guy who's only 20 years old. So kind of an interesting one. I mean, the incumbent in Muntz is only 24, and he's only got 4 caps, so there's not a heck of a lot between them. I might be leaning towards Muntz if he can get himself fit, but either way, they've got good choices there at 10. Midfield as an outside backs, you've got Botitu, you've got Tabuavo, who is one of the new guys who I'm not that familiar with. Apparently he's playing his rugby over in France. He's only 21 years old and is apparently a bit of a big unit. I think they gave him the nickname of the Terminator or something over in France. So look forward to seeing him if he can get a crack. Now the level will captain the side from the midfield, so potentially he's a lock-on for the 13 jumper. Randradra potentially in the midfield or in the outside backs, and then Waningolo, Droasese, and Mangala. They did also name Masi and Ravutamanda from the Drua. Both of these guys, exceptional guys in the Drua season, both busting tackles and getting clean breaks and scoring tries. But as far as I'm aware, both Masi and Ravutamanda have been called up for the 7 squad to go to the Olympics, so have made themselves also unavailable for the national team, which is an update which has happened since the kind of initial naming of this Flying Fijian squad. So I think it was 33 initially named, but with those 2 guys out, we're down to 31. I haven't seen if anybody has been called up to replace them just yet. We'll kind of have to watch that one with interest. 3 fixtures on for the Fijians. They've got the Barbars on the 22nd of June at Twickenham, which will be I would say probably one of the more exciting matches to watch because the Barbarians are always a fun side to watch, and likewise Fiji. So that's, on paper, one of the most entertaining matches you'll see this year. Then Georgia awaits, and I quite like the battle between Fiji and Georgia because both of these sides, I feel like, are searching for a bit more kind of international recognition. Obviously, Georgia are on the record of saying they want more top-class international games. They're obviously that kind of next cab off the rank in Europe behind the Six Nations sides. And then Fiji's kind of basically in the same position here in the Pacific. So those guys going head-to-head, plus their recent record of going into battle with the two recent Rugby World Cups in 2019 and 2023 also means that there's a little bit of a rivalry building between those two. This is going to be played in Georgia in early July, and then the game, which is maybe the biggest one for New Zealand fans to be interested in, is the All Blacks are going to take on the Flying Fijians over in San Diego. So this should be a pretty interesting one. Kind of low on caps on average. You know, the forwards are averaging 14 caps. The backs closer to 12 from the guys that are available. But remember, the Fijians don't get as many international matches as some of the kind of Six Nations Rugby Championship sides. So the average caps, sadly, is always a bit lower. The average age of the forwards is 27. The backs is 26, 25 and a half. So, yeah, it's a good blend, I think, of youth and experience. I look forward to seeing how these guys go in June and July. I think they're always certainly one to get behind. If you're in the States and want to see these guys play, their first match up against the Barbarians is on Flow Rugby. I'll put a link down to there in the description. Flow Rugby's got a bunch of the internationals on for this upcoming June-July season. But yeah, you guys check it out and let me know what you think of this Fijian squad. I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.